Good morning. So some Dreamwork last night was absolutely explanatory, I hope. It's been kind of the quandary as to what to do with my job. Am I complete with my job? Is there still patterning that I'm supposed to be learning? Am I done with what the job represented? Am I done with all the patterning? Can I clear it off? Can I flush it, recycle the records, etc.? And 2 weeks ago, it took every amount of professionalism I had to continue going to my job, even though there was an announcement that history was being rewritten. And I just thought, oh, that means I probably won't get in trouble then. However, the plot is thickening with work, but that's going to be another video. This is more about the dream. So in this dream, there was a group of people that I was helping, and we were building a fortress. And we had hand moved all these stones in to build a wall around an area that we could live in. Create a position, a stronghold as it was, not to protect ourselves from anything, but to provide us somewhere to stay. And at this point, primarily from the elements. And it became very nice inside. It became very, very nice. And then there was a stepping through a wall into, because that was different time, into present time. And it was the job announcements. I had a job working with a particular group of people, and I was in the building where they were announcing the next year's contracts. And from my current position, which was with 4 or 5 people that I'd grown to know very well, but it was kind of at the bottom of the pile, as it were. Sorry, my hair looks terrible. Just woke up. There was an announcement that I had a new job that was basically being in charge of the next cell up and liaising between that cell and other cells, and a key character who had up till now been destructive was now becoming constructive. And I took everyone into the cupboard to meet this person, and it was a line of women. And I remember looking up going, can I do this? Okay, but the answer was yes, because I already kind of knew some of them, and it was definitely an easy step up for me. More responsibility, but definitely a whole other level to clear, but there was a comfort zone. And then I sat and listened while they made other job announcements, and I had also been offered, I had obviously put in for this and had been given a key position in a situation even higher than that. At this point, the dream symbology was like, say something like the county works department or something in 3 different departments. And in this one, I was again given a liaising position where I was to work with upwards of 20 different people in accounts and creating harmony amongst the accounts and the other employees. But in this particular position, a woman who had had that role that had not been given that job this season, or this, it was like a contract, lost her position. So I was hired in lieu of her, and she wasn't happy. She had another position, which apparently was a second choice, but she hadn't expected to ever be ousted. And this I felt very uncomfortable about. I felt like, like, did they know I'd already got 2 other jobs, and which one was I going to have to choose? But they did the announcements, and the jobs were explained, and there was a tentative yes to all the jobs from people that had been offered the contracts. So I'm trying to work out what I'm going to do by revisiting each one of the so-called, like, if you imagine a long corridor with 3 separate groups in it, which one of those 3 groups I resonated with most? The ones that I had been working with, the ones that I had first been given the contract to begin working with, where there was the comfort level, and then the third group, which was the overwhelm level and a vindictive woman who wanted me dead. And so as I walked back to my original office, the one that had all my stuff in it, Steve was there. And he basically said, "Wow, you got a new job." And I showed him the first new selection process, and he sat in my chair and said, "Ooh, this is your new chair." And there was 2 guys that hadn't been there before. They were suddenly in the office, and I said, "Don't sit there yet. I don't know if it's official." And then we went up to look at the other one, and there was now the third position that I'd been offered, the one with the bitchy woman, was now into 2 subrooms, and I was looking very carefully at the players to see whether or not I could feel any connection or karma or resonance. And we walked to the very end of the hallway where the bitchy women were, and they were like Barbies. They were the kind of women in the office that eat you alive. And there was 5 of them or 6 of them sat at a table in a formation, and I'm like, oh, I'm dead. And then I walked back to what was now the second room of the office, because only those women were allowed to eat their lunch in that section. I walked back to the other part of the office where the rest of the women were, and there was one nice woman who looked like a nurse that was a little plump, and she had a very pretty face, and I thought I could be friends with her. But I looked at Steve and I went, ugh. And he said, "Well, what's going on with your other lot?" And so I walked back to the divide, because it was a different time, and stepped back into the old world, and they're like, "Where have you been?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, and I no longer had my man with me. And the twins had arrived. The 2 twins were there, and the other girl that I'd helped build the building with was thrilled that the twins were there, because she was in love with one of the twins. And so with the twins, I met them, shook their hands, and we walked back, and they said, "Yeah, she's built this amazing building." And I said, "Well, actually, we did it together." And then as we got to the building, I saw that it had begun to degenerate. And when I looked inside, the former glory that it was when I had left had faded. And then there was somebody called Innis, who was in the cave-like protection area that was basically like an old World War II bunker into a hill. And as I looked in, I realized that they were all veterans, and terrible things had happened, and they all had PTSD, and their minds were ruined. And I was like, oh, now what do I do? And then I woke up. Don't know if any of this is helping. Okay, bye.